In the quiet American town of Ravenswood, Ohio, there lived an old woman no one noticed anymore. Her name was Eleanor Whitmore. At 73, Eleanor walked slowly, her back slightly bent, her silver hair always tied into a neat bun. She lived in a small wooden house at the edge of town, surrounded by dying roses and memories that refused to fade. To the world, she was invisible. To the town, she was just that old lady. But once long ago Eleanor Whitmore had been strong, respected, and deeply loved. And once long ago everything was stolen from her. 30 years earlier, Eleanor had been a high school English teacher, admired by students and respected by colleagues. Her husband, Thomas Whitmore, owned a small construction company. They had one son, Daniel, bright, kind, and full of dreams. Their life was simple. Happy. Until the night Ravenswood chose power over truth. A wealthy real estate tycoon named Richard Hale wanted land near the river. That land included Eleanor's home and Thomas's business property. Thomas refused to sell. 2 weeks later, everything changed. Thomas was arrested for embezzlement. Daniel was accused of drug possession. Eleanor was accused of witness tampering. All false. All perfectly arranged. Richard Hale owned judges, lawyers, police officers, and silence. Thomas died in prison after a heart attack. Daniel was beaten so badly in jail that he never fully recovered. He took his own life 2 years later. Eleanor was left with nothing. Except time. For decades, Eleanor survived. She cleaned houses. She lived quietly. She watched Richard Hale rise, bigger buildings, political influence, charity galas. The town praised him. They called him a hero. And Eleanor, they called her crazy when she tried to speak. So she stopped talking. And started remembering. One afternoon, Eleanor sat in the town library, reading a newspaper. Headline: Richard Hale announces mayoral campaign. Her fingers trembled. She looked at the photo, older now, heavier, but smiling confidently. That smile. The same smile he wore in the courtroom when her family was destroyed. That night, Eleanor made a decision. She would not scream. She would not beg. She would not forgive. She would destroy him slowly. People underestimate old women. They assume weakness. Eleanor used that. She volunteered at the community center where Richard's wife donated money. She cleaned offices where Richard's lawyers worked. She smiled politely. Listened. Collected names. Dates. Secrets. She wrote everything in a small black notebook hidden beneath her floorboards. For 5 years. Richard Hale's assistant, Mark Lewis, had a gambling problem. Eleanor noticed. She offered kindness. Coffee. Conversation. When Mark lost everything, Eleanor gave him money. No questions. Only one request: tell me the truth. Mark cried. And talked. Bank transfers. Bribes. False arrests. Judicial manipulation. Eleanor copied files slowly, carefully. She learned technology from the library computers. She mailed anonymous packages to journalists. Nothing happened. At first. Then one article appeared. Small. Buried. But dangerous. Eleanor stood in front of the mirror. For the first time in decades, she smiled. Not with joy. With purpose. People noticed changes. Investigations. Questions. Richard dismissed everything. Old lies, he said. But his voice shook. Eleanor's house was burned one night. An accident, they said. She stood in the rain, watching flames consume her memories. She did not cry. She only whispered, "You just confirmed your guilt." Eleanor walked into the FBI office. She carried her black notebook. And everything else. Richard Hale was arrested live on television. Fraud. Corruption. Conspiracy. The town was shocked. Eleanor watched calmly. Richard saw her in court. Old. Small. Smiling. "You ruined my life," he whispered. "No," Eleanor replied. "You ruined mine. I just returned it." Richard Hale died in prison. Alone. Forgotten. Eleanor returned to the river. She scattered Thomas's ashes. Daniel's photo rested in her hands. "I kept my promise," she whispered. For the first time in years, Eleanor Whitmore was free.